Hi, my name is Susanna Barton. I am the host of the Grand Plans podcast and online community. And today we are getting down with episode 3 of season 2 of the Grand Plans podcast. Thanks for being with us today. Hi, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Grand Plans podcast. And I am super thrilled to have my friend Kimberly Waterhouse here in the studio today. Kimberly and I go way back, like 25, 26 years. It's been a while. We used to work together at the Business Journal. Here in Jacksonville, where Kimberly had an illustrious career in ad sales, really connected to the commercial and residential real estate, mainly commercial real estate in Jacksonville, the industry here, and really made a name for herself and has since been through several different career changes, including local television station sales. And currently she is in the last chapter of her professional career doing as a realtor for Berkshire Hathaway. And Kimberly called me one day and shared a very touching story about kind of an epiphany she had reached about this point where she is in life, and how that has really made her take a new look at what's ahead. So I'm not, no spoiler alerts necessary, but Kimberly, thank you for joining us, and I can't wait to hear your story. So tell me, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. It's so good to see you.
Yeah.
Susanna is one of my favorite people from my Business Journal days. And when she left and I was still there, it was sad because she was my counterpart in the news department. She was on the news side. I was on the advertising side. And she wrote, her beat covered most of the businesses I did business with, pardon the pun.
Yes, you were on the other side of the fence, but we worked well together.
Yes, and everybody loved you, which made my job easier.
Well, that was a fun time, and I am glad we've been able to keep up over the years.
I know.
Yeah. So tell me about, we've had a couple of discussions about this moment, and I think it's true of a lot of people. You get to a certain point in your life, midway through and on the back side of that, and start thinking, what do I need to do to find happiness, contentment? What is the rest of my life going to look like? And I know you had that moment. Maybe you could start in with that a little bit about how you found yourself in that place.
Oh, wow. And there's different parts to that, Susanna. I think it probably started to unfold after I left, as you said, an illustrious career with the Jacksonville Business Journal.
Yes.
18 years of my life. And
Right.
I say that number and I go, that's not very long, but it really is in careers these days. And, making that decision because I had saved an extra pot of money. And I could take a year off, and the year was to be taken off purposefully because I raised a nephew on my own, and it was his last year of high school. But what I quickly found is I needed to take care of myself. And you and I were talking about this. I can look at pictures of myself back then, and I looked older than I look now.
And let me just interrupt for 2 seconds. And if anyone doesn't know Kimberly, let me just inform you that she always looks amazing, and she never changes, not even for a skinny minute. Like, she looks exactly the same now as she did back in 1995 when I first met her. I'm not even exaggerating.
Hopefully better.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Susanna. It's a journey. little sidebar. I started taking care of my skin when I was 15 years old, and that's like one of my things is I am like this crazy person about taking care of my skin.
Well,
Drinking lots of water.
yeah, hydrated. Well,
Yeah,
that's good.
hydration.
Yeah.
But, you know, I that year I ended up I needed to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so then some years went by, and it was a little bit of my identity, because I was stuck to this identity of 18 years, and just kind of, I felt like I was fumbling around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I started hitting my stride again after I ran into a CEO here in town that I actually met when I was in college at UNF.
Mm-hmm.
And I was involved in as a student, doing all the student-run events. Shocking. And he was my beer distributor.
Oh.
And so some people will probably know who this is, but I'm not going to say the name or the company. And long story short, we were having these conversations, and he had some things he was working on. I wasn't happy where I was at the time, and I was like, something's got to give. And he offered me an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and I started my own business. So I had a marketing consultancy for a few
Mm-hmm.
years. That was my main client. He took a lot of my time. And I had a few other smaller clients, but everything was kind of wrapping up at the end of the third year. And someone called me and said, hey, First Coast News is looking for this new position. Long story short, I got the job. I was there, and I'm in my third year, and I had a death in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And that death had ripple effects. And when I came back from handling all of that, and thinking at that point that was when I was going to lose my mother. Fortunately, it didn't happen then. I was offered a severance package by Rob Minnie, who was the station GM. He's recently retired, and I took it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was making that decision of what am I going to do now?
Right.
And I have a wonderful man in my life, and he is so supportive. And speaking with people in my circle, my tribe, and others, everything kept coming back to real estate. And the year I left the Business Journal, I had so many people coming to me, go get your license, go get your license. And God has a very unique way of having things unfold at the right time.
Yes.
It's in His time, not ours, is what I've learned. And so this was the time. And so it was supposed to be commercial real estate. COVID kind of squashed that. I had already had some conversations with some people that I have known a very long time who are with, and I've got to say the whole name,
Mm-hmm.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Florida Network Realty.
Oh my gosh.
And
I would know that if I had to write it down every day like I used to.
yeah, and so here we are, and now it all makes sense. Now I know why everybody wanted me to do this, and it really takes all my business experience, my intelligence that I've garnered over the years in this region, and who I am, and ties it up in a nice little package with a bow, and I'm just having so much fun with it.
And do you feel like this is, I know you were talking earlier about how your work has really defined your identity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like this is a better version of that first identity that you may have felt like you had lost a little bit in the transition, or does it give you an opportunity to add more to the person who you think you are?
It's to add more to it. It's not like a continuum, because it really and I am very fortunate for the time I was with the Business Journal here, because I did have access to people. I had access to information. I had access to situations that most people don't, which has helped me, along the way. And so, when it came time to say, this is where I'm going to land with this real estate license I now have, it was, who I need to respect and trust the people I work with. And that's very important. And that has helped, that word trust. There's a book called Speed of Trust. And at that moment, it can take a moment, a second, that you have this feeling, and it's like, okay. And you may think the world is crumbling around you, but that's when you go, this just isn't right. I've got to move on. And so I have had the most respect for everything that Linda Shear built with Prudential Network Realty, which is now where I'm at, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Florida Network Realty. I know it's a mouthful. I can just say Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, but Home Services has to go with Berkshire Hathaway. And I do. I'm in a very collaborative environment. There are the thing I love is there's people of all ages, but I do treat this as a business because it is a business for me. And, I love it. I like the flexibility it provides. But I do treat it as a business.
Well, you love what you do. You're good at what you do. And now you have more flexibility to look around a little bit. So now, and you've called this the last chapter of your professional career. Now that you're there and you're in a great place, and you have a career that you're good at doing, that you enjoy doing, that you're hitting all the high notes in, now with that time and perspective, how are you looking ahead toward, I call it the golden years, or the last inning, whatever it is, as you're looking ahead to make sure that you're preparing yourself well for what's after the final chapter of your professional career?
Well, as I shared with you, Susanna, I unexpectedly lost my mother early last November, and that is something that I'm kind of choking up, but something I didn't expect to have happen. And I have the people listening can't see this, but you can because you're across from me. But this is a little bit of my mother that I wear with me. And, I'm the firstborn, and that, I talk to my mother every day, and I can drive certain places and feel like I need to call her. Where she lived, I can see it daily. So that has been something that's been profound. And you had to make some, get into the nitty gritty a little bit and learning how to handle a lot of this. Yeah. Over the years, it really kind of probably started almost 13 years ago with some things in her health, and just, getting to know how important it is to be at those appointments, ask the questions, taking notes on my phone, being able to refer back, and being that advocate in healthcare for your parents. I mean, I have a 93-year-old father who lives in outside of Biloxi, Mississippi, and he's 100% service disabled connected veteran, and he moved over there because of the VA healthcare they have. It's an amazing system over there. Shockingly that we don't have that here in Jacksonville, being such a high-profile military and veteran community. But I've had to learn to navigate the VA medical system, and that was not easy. But you have to have those relationships and know the people. And, when my mother passed away, I called all of these people that I was taking her to these appointments to let them know, because, most of them didn't realize exactly what was happening at that time, and happened very quickly. But, so now it's okay. I've lost one parent, and it's a weird feeling. I mean, you've been there, done that. Yes. And, death can be a little tricky and can cause things to happen in families
Yes.
and just in life in general. So
Right.
you have to kind of learn how to roll with that.
Well, I was going to say it's a learning curve. I mean, I think it teaches you things too, as hard as it is. You learn things and they're takeaways. Were there any big takeaways from your mom's experience that made you think, oh my gosh, when I'm going to make sure I do X, Y, or Z when, I'm in that situation or, looking ahead? Because I feel like I did that with, not my mom necessarily. She passed away before I was, handling things. But certainly my dad and another couple I helped. It's like, oh my gosh, you get in these situations. You're like, oh, I've got to tell everybody. This is what I've learned. This is, would never do that.
I think the biggest thing is just ask your parents questions.
Yeah.
Ask them questions like, about their life, making sure you understand, what, I would ask questions, do you have any regrets? Would you have done anything differently in your life? What are things, looking at pictures, I want to make sure I know everything.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yes.
And my mother had put together an album that I did not know about until after she passed away. And I mean, it is crazy, the stuff that's in it. And I keep saying to myself, I've got to find this. It's probably take months, but I know part of this journey will take me out to California. And part of this journey will take me across the waters to where's the Netherlands. Some will take me as close as Thomasville, Georgia.
Right.
But there are some things that have come up and I'm like, oh, I didn't know this. And so it's pretty cool. I wish you always say, I wish I'd spent more time within certain things.
Right.
And you get busy in your life. And that's the one thing I'm trying to be more conscious of in my relationships. And that's hard for me because I'm a very driven person. I always want to be successful.
Yeah.
And
that's
even
why
that
you've been successful.
and I think, some people may not know this about me, but I did serve in the United States Marine Corps, and some of those habits come out. And it's like, I'm driven. I want to take the beach. I want to,
Yeah.
I want everything to be a success. And, the one thing I look back is success is great, but there are parts of your life, and those are relationships.
Yeah, the softer side.
Yeah, the softer side. I like that. The softer side of our lives.
Yeah, like Sears, the softer side.
So remember those Sears and Penny catalogs we all used to look at?
Oh my God.
I'm dating myself. And I'll put it out there. I'm in my sexy 60s.
Yes, and y'all, she looks like she's 32. I'm not kidding.
And, I don't know. I don't feel my age. And that's the other thing we talked about. I have not wrapped my head around the fact that I will be 63 this year. Yes, I just told you my age.
Yeah.
It's a number.
Yeah.
And, but we talk about things changing, people passing on. I did lose a dear friend 5 years ago. Recently lost a close family friend.
Right. And how's that informed the way you think about your own future? And not that you should, every 63-year-old should be thinking about these things, but when you do have loss around you, you do have these experiences. How does that change the way you look ahead?
I'm just ready for it to stop for a little while. But I sit back because I guess I'm at that age. I am at that age where things start. I mean, you even look at people that you used to watch on television. They're passing away. You and I was driving down the road not too long ago, and things that are constant in your life that as you're even just driving down the road, are always there. I mean, I grew up here. I did spend about 5 years of my life living in Lake City.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I went to high school. Go Tigers.
Yes.
But like the Skinner family,
yeah,
that land, the family houses, I'm going down the road and all of a sudden I'm like, I literally stopped my car. I'm glad nobody was behind me because I was like doing a left turn with my head going, what?
Yes. If y'all have not driven down St. Augustine Road and noticed
Old Kings,
right, and noticed the vast clearing that you can almost see to Powers.
You can see to Powers.
And to Phillips Highway.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's just, it used to be just some beautiful two estate homes and a lot of trees, and now it's not anymore.
Yeah,
so anyway,
it's crazy.
The point is, things change, and it's scary when that happens. But but then it makes us think about the way we need to be changing and thinking ahead.
Taking care of my health is a priority.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you're going to the doctor more, just staying on top of things more?
I do. I do. I've always been good about that. Some years not, probably back in my business journal days, but now I get an annual exam, full blood work, constantly more conscious about my sun protection.
Yes, because you can't ruin that pretty skin.
Oh, yes. And I'm shocked. I mean, I used to put iodine in baby oil and slather it all over my body, and I'm shocked I don't have skin cancer. But it's just really those, as you said, and I'm going to probably start using the softer side of our lives, which are those relationships, how we treat people.
Right. And you mentioned also faith. And also, I'm going to add for you community as like making sure you're paying attention to the community you have around you and faith and a lot of people say the same things. That's important.
Yes. And, faith has always been a part of my life. And I was raised in church. There have been parts of my life I probably didn't stay as connected to church as I should have, but I've always had my faith. But that's been something more important to me over recent years, and that was important to me in a relationship also. In this relationship I'm in now, 9 years in, and it's. And just, try not to, let things bother you. People are always going to have opinions.
Yes.
And sometimes that's hard, but just kind of let it roll off the shoulder. Yeah. Listening to your body if you need to rest.
Yeah. Rest is good, right?
Rest is good.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn how to say no.
Yeah. That's good.
I had a hard time saying no. I would say, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And I don't need to be doing this all the time. I don't mind imparting my wisdom on people if they ask for it. Or, if I feel like I want to get involved in something, I will.
Right.
I try to do that from not only a personal standpoint, but a business standpoint. What are things that are important to me? Like, I'm a donor with the Florida Theater. I grew up going to the Florida Theater when it was a movie theater.
Right. Yeah.
Looking at other things like the Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center. That's important because my nephew I raised was a client there for a number of years. I'm very pro downtown, so trying to support things downtown. And
what about mentoring? I know that's another thing. Have you read From Strength to Strength? It's a great book.
I have not.
The second half of your career
From strength
should be more of a
strength.
Teaching, mentoring kind of role. But it's a great book, so read it if you can. But
I will say when
talking about the soft side of things.
There was a board I was on for a number of years and helped raise quite a bit of money, but there were, I embraced a faction of it that was a youth leadership component of this organization. And there were these young men that I kind of just grew close to. And one of them is no longer with us. And when I got that news, that hit me pretty hard. And he took his own life, which I didn't see coming in a million years. And I just sit back and go, wow, because I just, that smile, I still see it. And, those things, that leads into something we touched on is, if I can help a child, if I can be a voice of, I'm big on foster care. I sat on that board, Family Support Services, and there's, independent living, relative caregiving, foster care, because I was a relative caregiver. I could not adopt my nephew. But, the guardian ad litem program, all of that out there. There are a lot of children that don't have homes. And I feel like as a community, we have a responsibility to make sure these kids are taken care of, because when they age out of foster care, where are they going to go?
Right.
And if they haven't been adopted, what are they going to do? And so, unfortunately, a lot of them end up on the streets. A lot of them end up in our prisons. And so I've always in some way tried to support that. And through my work now in my office and the metro offices of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Florida Network Realty, we give Christmas, the past 2 years, and I've led this charge, we give Christmas to 40 foster children. And it's so,
awesome.
It's wonderful to be able to do that, because I don't... I don't have any children in my life or grandchildren or anything. So, kids need to be able to be kids and have things that kids should have. And so I'm looking right now. I'm not on any boards right now.
Yeah.
It was important in year 3 of my real estate career.
Right.
And I've been very fortunate that my first 2 years, I'm in the top 10% of the entire network globally of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
Yay.
Yay. But, I'm looking at those boards where, it's helping children. That's where my head, that's where my heart, my passion is.
Yeah. And something that you can continue for even past your career. That's a wonderful area to support and to
exactly. And I will give monetarily to different organizations, but I also think it's important to give your time. The Jacksonville Police Athletic League, Jack's Pal, is another board I was on for a long time. That was one I alluded to earlier. It's not police playing athletics. I wish I could change the name, but I cannot. But it's a great organization that works with children of all ages up to 18 that are in our inner city areas. But with sports, education, camps, all kinds of stuff. So it's just, you get to a point, hopefully you have been fortunate enough that you have the ability to give back. But I also have learned to be a little selfish with my time.
Yeah, to take care of yourself. I mean,
yes.
That's an important, I think, part of grand planning, like looking ahead, is that you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your health, your spirituality, you're checking all those boxes.
And travel has been something I didn't do a lot of travel over the years. So now I did across the seas travel for the first time the fall of 2019. I went to Greece and Italy.
Oh my gosh.
And
everyone is there right now, by the way.
I know, it's so interesting. And but I didn't go to the part of Greece that everybody ends up in. I was over in Thessaloniki, the book of Thessalonians,
right, yes.
And so that's the area I was in. So we keep talking about where are we going next, and we can't agree. I said to Tony, my man, that's Tony, I said, we just need to put the places that we both want to go to, put them in a bowl and just draw one.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Say, this is where we're going. Just, travel. I want to do more travel.
So, and let me just interrupt. Did you and Tony talk about these things like together, how you envision either retirement or whatever, your golden years? Like, are y'all both on the same page, and do you have conversations about it? How do you get there?
We do. He is 4 years older than me.
Okay.
And so he'll retire 4 years before I do. And we talk about that. And I always say to him, I've got a real estate license, and as long as I keep that, do what I'm supposed to and everything, I can be flexible with that. And he's originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Nice.
And I love that area. Oh, it's so gorgeous. And he went to Wake Forest. They're in the College World Series playoffs right now for baseball.
Oh, wow.
And it's 1-1 game. It's the best out of 3. So I hope they win against LSU.
Oh, boy.
So we'll see how that goes. But we do. And when does he want to retire?
Yeah.
And he
And then-
he enjoys what he does. So he says, as long as I'm enjoying it. And he recently started talking about I might switch what I'm doing in this company where he's highly respected, which makes it easier. When people know that you're a team player, you worked hard, and he's well liked, so that would be an easy switch.
Right.
I keep saying I just want to get an RV and hop in it and go, and he laughs at me. He
Does
goes,
sound like fun.
he goes, where are you going to put all your clothes?
Yeah.
I know. I still
You're
need to
gonna
go
have to
through.
pare back.
I still have some of those Ann Taylor suits. I need to purge some
Oh my
closets
gosh, yes.
still.
You have some work to do.
Yes.
Well, so as part of that conversation, and we should probably wrap up after this, so we get all this together. But as part of those conversations, do you all, and you're an expert in home sales and living arrangements, do you all talk about where, not in the RV, but where you might want to live, or what might make the most sense in terms of getting older, what kind of community you want to be in, what that looks like, what area, do y'all have those conversations?
We do, because we're in a 2-story historic home right now in historic Springfield.
Yes.
And we both can still go up and down the stairs.
Right.
But, it would be, I want a pool. I don't have a pool. He knows I want a pool. And I always thought that he would want to go back to North Carolina, which I would go back. I would move to North Carolina.
Pretty.
And he lost his mother unexpectedly around this time last year.
Okay.
And so we both lost our mothers in the same year.
Wow.
Along with the fact, even though he's 4 years older, we have the same birthday. Isn't that weird? I know.
meant to be.
But
happening.
we talk about that down, going to a smaller footprint. Where would that be? What does that look like? And where is it going to be? His children are here. And so being close is important to him, which I fully support. And I love the beach. I don't think we can afford to live at the beach.
Yeah, but you got to stay in
Expensive
Jacksonville.
to live at the beach. As long as I have a pool, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And a membership somewhere that I can go, or just go to the beach, whatever.
You can find all these things and more.
Yeah, but we do talk about that.
Yeah.
And how would we make, when would the right time for that be? So luckily we're in a part of Jacksonville that is becoming more and more desirable.
Yeah.
And it's just, we talk about healthcare, we talk about fitness, we talk about retirement planning.
Right. Yes. All that.
And, we do have those conversations. We talk about, powers of attorney, medical powers of attorney, how would we deal with this or that? And one of the things
praise the Lord that I'm so glad you're having those conversations.
Yeah.
Some people don't.
Yeah. And I have some documents that I personally he needs to update on his end, but I have some that I don't have that I need to get done. And because I know it'll make things easier. There was a thought I had and it just went out the window. It happens. It happens and it'll come back.
It happens to young people like you.
But no, it's, I think
That's
it's
great.
More people should just talk about it. And but with parents, you've got somebody needs to be their advocate. And it's hard. And but you have to. And I encouraged a few years back that Tony and his 2 sisters have that conversation with their mother. to get it all out on the table, because that's not something you want to leave hanging. And they did. And so they knew what her wishes were. My mom made her wishes very clear.
What a gift.
Yeah. And even though there were, I made the decision. I was the one that had power of attorney and all that. And I asked my mother to let my sister take that over. She's 15 years younger, but she is in the medical community.
She knows.
And I felt like she would be able to make better decisions.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone has different strengths, and you got to go with that.
Yeah. And so she did. And, there were still some rough patches leading up to those decisions, but it's done and life goes on. And, but it's, I'm at that point, things that are constants are not with you anymore.
Yes.
They're changing. And that's the thing where it's like, you kind of like, okay, can things just stop for a little bit?
Yeah.
And
that's when the epiphanies happen. I think that's when your brain gets thinking about the important things, the conversations, the softer sides, taking care of ourselves, the faith part of it, the community, all of those things come from those moments where you take a breath, have your thoughts on it, and come up with a better way to move forward.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking from our conversation, Kimberly.
Yeah. And, there's so many things, not to get too philosophical here, but there's so many things in this world that are divisive.
Yes.
And people, I've got it in my hand. I'm holding it, this little phone here.
Yes,
and that's something even in my industry that is very frustrating to me. People do not know how to have conversations. They don't know how to communicate.
Right.
The art of conversation has been lost over the years. People are afraid to look at each other. People are afraid to pick up the phone and have a conversation. And, if you're sending an email, you're sending something that is contractual, something's time sensitive, pick up the phone and say, hey, I just sent this to, or hey, did you have this? And people are hiding behind this. And that scares me. Another friend of mine, you use the word mentoring. She's mentoring this person a little bit out of college, and she doesn't know how to have conversations. She's just like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm finished with college and I don't know how I'm supposed to handle things now. And, it's just astounding. And I have hope that, we'll get through this, but we've got to have conversations, because
conversations are very
even though, you may look at things differently than I do, I know there are things there's commonalities, and you find those commonalities and get through it. And it's not that difficult, but
no, it's not. And I'll tell you what, I have really enjoyed our conversation today, and I'm very grateful to you for sharing your experiences and your thoughts, because they're big ones, they're important ones, and thank you. I'm just so happy that you took the time to sit here with me on my dog hair ridden couch.
It's all good, Susanna, and I appreciate you inviting me, and I adore you, and I love reading anything that you write. You're very smart. You're a great writer.
No. Well, Kimberly, you can come back anytime and say those things over and over again to me. But thank you for your time. We'll talk again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to our conversation today with Kimberly Waterhouse. And we're so thrilled that she was able to join us in the studio and share her stories. You can look out for this podcast anywhere you find your podcast shows, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and also I'm keeping a catalog of these shows on the Grand Plans website, which is mygrandplans.com. Thanks, and y'all have a great day.